Steve, my good man, how the devil are you?
I'm good, buddy. How are you?
I'm wonderful, my friend, wonderful. I'm pretty bored of hearing about dead royals, but aside from that, I'm doing very well.
Yes, I don't. Yeah, don't get me started. Let's not go down that rabbit hole.
Let's not
Very
go-
sad. Don't get me wrong. Very sad that someone's lost their husband, grandfather, father. Very, very sad. Yes.
Yeah, exactly. He's like, but there's other news in the world. So we're going to talk about the other news, Steve. Let's not be as every other Brit is being right now in the world and talk about nothing but the royal family, who we have literally no idea about whatsoever. But that's a story for another day. Ignoring the royal family. MotoGP, Steve, that's what we're here to talk about, my friend. Shall we just go and dive straight into the show today? Because we've got some pretty exciting news.
Let's go for it, mate.
Good stuff. So I'm Tim, he's Steve, and this is for the love of MotoGP. So, Steve, he's back this week. We're going to see him on track once more.
We are, mate. And how long have we waited for this? Too long.
Quite more than 9 months since Marc Marquez has been on track.
That's scary.
It's been a long time, man, and I cannot. I'm so excited. Don't get me wrong. Last year was great, and a lot of it was because he wasn't there. A lot of the fact that last year was as good as it was is because Marc Marquez wasn't there. But I'm ready to have him back now, and I don't think I'm the only one, mate. I think there's a lot of people in the world. I'm throwing my pen around, but I think there's a lot of people in the world that are quite excited to see him back on track.
Exactly. It's going to add another element of what the hell. You know, if he'd just been out, let's say he had a bout of the flu and he battled back through it and he'd been out for a race or two, maybe three, you know, he's going to be race fit. But this guy's had a massive injury.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we had some awesome racing because he wasn't there last year. And now we've got this complete unknown of what is he going to be like? What's he going to be able to do? And, you know, come Friday, Thursday, even when we get the press conferences coming out, it's going to be dominated by him.
Yeah, exactly.
I just can't wait. I just cannot wait. Thursday cannot come quick enough.
I'm just really looking forward to seeing him back on track, man. And just seeing, because I'm expecting him to be fast. Am I expecting him to go out and win the race? No, probably not. But not because he's not capable of doing so, but it's more because he hasn't ridden competitively in more than 9 months. So that's a long time to be away from things. But I'm just so excited. So excited. What are you expecting from him, Steve, coming into it?
I think we're going to see a very tentative Friday. You know, like you say, he's been off of that bike for a long time. That bike's changed. He's got to get himself race fit or race ready, up to speed. I think we could see him try to put down some quick laps, some very quick laps. But I think Friday's going to be a big learning curve for him. He's got to go back to basics. He's not going to come out of the blocks, I don't think, and win the race. He's going to try. I think he will try. And like all over social media, people are arguing like crazy. What is he going to do? Some people are saying you're nuts if you think he's going to come back and he's going to dominate. He's not. He's been off that bike for so long. And like you said in a previous podcast, there's a quote from a famous rider. I can't remember if he said it.
Wasn't it?
Swans. If you're out for a month, that's 2 months off your bike.
But the thing is with Marc Marquez as well is we've seen him take extended periods off before. Like, you got to think in his Moto2 era, he had that eye injury where he thought his career was over, and then he just came back and smashed it all. He's had in, I think, at 125s, he had a broken arm and just came back and smashed it from then as well. So he's been out for extended periods and come back and just smashed whatever class he's in. I don't know if you can do that again in MotoGP though. Like, it seems like
I don't think so.
Yeah, talent can get you everywhere, and Marc Marquez is a very hard worker as well as very talented. But talent can arguably get you through those kind of things in Moto3 or 125s as it was, and in Moto2. But in MotoGP, I don't know if that's enough, and I think the race fitness is what's going to affect him, because although he is still a fucking fine specimen of a man, Steve, especially compared to you and I here. We are literally just sitting on our asses and talking about MotoGP, whereas he's thinking about it all the time and working out for it all the time. But he can't be race fit, can he?
No, I don't think so. Just that injury alone. I mean, um, let's use an analogy. Sarah plays football, right? She's had months and months of hell treatments, and she's now getting herself ready to go back to football. She's running, doing sport, and then she goes football training and comes back knackered because it's a different kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it's exactly the same in my eyes as motorcycling.
That's it. And you've got to think, and for what Sarah's playing in an amateur football tournament or in an amateur league, for example, like this isn't her entire life. Whereas the guys who are competing professionally here, their entire life is being fit enough to do this, to do their job. And Marquez just hasn't. He's been out, like we say, for 9 months, man. Even if he's been hitting the gym all the time, he's not ridden a MotoGP bike in that time. And it's just like you say, it's a different beast. You can train all you like, but until you're actually competing, you don't know.
No, you could train on the Honda replica MotoGP bike that has now been released, but it's not a MotoGP bike. It's a different thing entirely.
Exactly. Anything that I can legally ride on the road is nothing compared to a MotoGP bike.
No, Christ! If everyone could get their hands on a MotoGP bike, the world's roads would be lethal.
Lethal for the first 2 years, and then basically empty after that.
Yeah, sales of everything will go right down because we'll all be injured.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm expecting a very tentative weekend from him. I'd love to see him do something phenomenal. I just can't see it. I can't bring myself to say that he's going to win this race or be on the podium.
What do you think will be a good, solid result?
A good, solid result, I think, will be a top 8. I think an outstanding weekend will be a top 5.
Yeah, that seems fair. It's funny, isn't it? And I know actually it's interesting because you and I have discussed this before. I can't remember if it was on the podcast or off the podcast, but I remember before saying to you that I thought a top 15 would be a great result for him. But the closer it's getting, the more I'm like, nah, I'd be a bit disappointed if it's a top 15. I'm like, a top 6 is what I'm expecting if he's not a top 6. And it's ridiculous because I'm now in my head, I'm like, if it's not a top 6, I'm going to be disappointed with his return. But a top 6 is still fucking great for a guy that's not been there for 9 months. Like he's had no input on the development of this bike. That's going to be another really interesting point. What's he going to say about the bike? The bike that was a fucking nightmare to ride for everyone except him. And he was, I mean, for the one race we saw him in, the fastest guy in the field without a doubt, but inconsistent and crashy.
Yeah, very crashy. I think he'll get to grips with the bike, what's changed to the bike quite well. Because we know from when we spoke to people before, they said just how good he is at adapting to any piece of machinery that is given to him. Like when we spoke to Fabio, he said you can't give him a part to test because he'll just make it work.
Yeah.
It might not work for anyone else, but he will make that work. He's that good a rider. So I think he's going to get to grips with the changes that have happened to the bike fairly quickly and fairly well. And he'll adapt himself. He'll adapt the bike in its current state to suit whatever he needs.
Yeah. And I mean, arguably, everyone has been saying that the Honda's an easier bike now to ride, that the development has been led by, Taka Nakagami, Cal Crutchlow, Stefan Bradl, Alex Marquez even's probably had an input. And they're all saying it's an easier bike to ride than it was at the beginning of 2019. And now they're giving Marc Marquez, who's arguably the greatest motorcycle rider of all time, an easier bike to ride than he had last year and the year before that. Like, I'm starting to get the impression and the feeling that he's wrapped this championship up already. Like, I'm sort of expecting him to just go out and win it now.
Yeah, if you give that man an easier bike to ride, he's going to come in and laugh at you all day long. But then let's play devil's advocate. That's not his style. His style is balls to the wall, getting that thing making shapes, getting it out of control. You give him a comfortable bike and he might not like it.
He might not like it, but maybe his balls to the wall style has only been because that's the way to get the maximum speed out of the bike. If you give him a Yamaha, maybe he'd become a Jorge Lorenzo and he'd just be silky smooth around all the corners. Like, I don't know, man. I'm so excited to see it now. It's one of these things, isn't it? That I'm going to be very disappointed when this season's over. And if Marquez comes back and just goes on a tear and wins the next 4 or whatever, which I think is highly unlikely, but if he does, by the end of it, I'll be like, oh, fuck off, Mark. Go get injured again. I don't mean that. I don't want him to get injured again. But I'm just, at this point in time, I'm very excited to see it because it's a world of unknowns.
Exactly. I'd like to see him just slot in nicely at the pointy end with everything else that's going on, and not be that runaway leader.
That's
Uh,
exactly it, isn't it? I'm very happy for him to come back and win the title, as long as it's a battle.
yeah, that's it. We've seen Marquez get beat before. 2015, didn't win it. I just want to see him really scrapping, proper scrapping. We've seen some awesome racing last year. Let's carry that on. Let's get him in the mix. Don't injure him again or injure himself. But let's keep these proper good scraps going and this good racing.
Yeah, exactly. And I think the fact that he's in a deficit to start the season is going to be exciting too, because I still think he's one of the favourites. I do. I think you and I were both silly not to pick him as our favourite prediction at the start of the year. I think he's one of the favourites, but the fact he's in a 40-point hole to Zarco and a 36-point hole to the two Yamahas is good, because it does mean he's got some catching up to do.
I think he can still do it.
Oh, easily, mate, easily. The Race did a really good article about if you took from the last 20 years of champions, if you removed the champions' first two race results, what happens? And something like in 85% of the time, the same champion still wins. They don't really need those first two results. And you've just got to look at 2019. Mark won by 150 points. He had 6 wins just in the bag. He could have done 2/3 of the season and then just fucked off and still been fine.
Yeah, just go on holiday. Just going to sit this one out, lads.
Yeah, so
got this one.
He's certainly got it in him, but it's going to be so exciting to see him back on track, mate. I can't wait. And I think it's funny as well, because we've said it before, again on the show, and you and I have said this just in passing, that I'm almost going to become a Marc Marquez fan for a few weeks. And I've never been a Marquez hater, but I've never been a big Marquez fanboy either. But I'm going to become a bit of a fanboy for the next few weeks, because I'm pretty excited about seeing it, man. And I think a lot of the world is like that. All the people that hated seeing him win over and over again, kind of the same people that hate seeing Lewis Hamilton win constantly or Mercedes win constantly in Formula One, are now getting behind this idea of he's going to come back. It's going to be great. So I think, and we've said it again before, it's going to do wonders for his popularity, this comeback. Wonders.
Oh, absolutely. If he comes back and wins this championship this year, that's it. Cemented his place as a GOAT. Absolutely. Unequivocally, no one's going to argue it. He is a GOAT.
Well, he matches Rossi if he wins this year, remember?
Yeah.
So
yeah. One more. It's just going to be fabulous. Like you say, becoming a full fanboy. I was even on the MotoGP store the other day, looking at Marquez shirts.
To be fair, I quite often go on the MotoGP store just because they send emails, and I can't help but click an email link on one of them, which is why I've got so many viruses on my computer. No, it's not.
Those other sites you look at, mate.
Yeah, exactly. This is why I tell Cherie. I swear, I can't help it. If I get an email, I just click the link. Sexy Asians in your area. I can't help it. It's just a link that I click, Cherie. Please, don't blame me for this. No. But yes, I sometimes look at the MotoGP store and then I realise I don't have enough money to afford official MotoGP merch.
I know, it's pricey.
It's so expensive, man. It's so expensive. I'm here in my jeans that I've been sewing patches on for the last year to try and eke out another few months from them. I can't afford to go and drop a shitload of money on MotoGP merch. You've just made something squeak. That was weird.
It's a monkey. I did not realise there is a monkey right next to me. One of the boys' squeaky little toys has made its way next to me.
There we go. Part of me is a little bit sad that you specified it was a toy, because I still couldn't see it. I just heard a squeak, saw you look shocked, and then you told me it was a monkey. So what the fuck has been going on in your house, mate?
Just imported a few things. Little sideline business they got going on here. God. Didn't realise that. Fucking scared the shit out of me. I didn't realise that was there.
You did look a little surprised, to be fair.
Just put my hand down, like squeak.
But yes, we've got Marc Marquez is coming back, and I think, even though I know a top 10, top 15 even is going to be a really good result for him, I'm going to be disappointed if he doesn't get a podium.
Yeah, I think we all are. Let's do a predictor. Where do you think he's going to come?
Oh, fuck.
Come on, let's put a number on it, and we'll see who gets closest.
Where do I think he's going to come? It'd be easier if this wasn't fucking Portimao. If it was a track he'd been to before, it would be easier. I don't think he's going to win the race, no matter what.
No.
Just because I'm pretty convinced Oliveira is just going to go out and go on a tear and win it. But where do I think he's going to come? I'm still stalling because I really don't. Fifth place, Steve. That's where I'm calling it.
5th, jot that down. I'm going 8th.
You're going 8th. Okay, I've got that jotted down, and we'll add those to our predictions at the end of the show. Oh, it's going to be great, mate. Can't wait for it.
I'm loving it. Cannot wait. Weekend cannot come quick enough to the point where I'm even considering booking Friday off.
Right, Steve, let's move on to our next piece of news. And I was once told that the best way to deliver bad news is to put it in a shit sandwich. So you have good news, bad news, good news. In fact, it might have been you that told me this, Steve, and it might have been on the show. So I'm following your advice.
Standard managerial process.
Yeah, in fact, the more I think about it, I'm quite convinced it was you that taught me this. So, Steve, let's talk briefly about the Lombok circuit in Indonesia. Reports have come out from the UN, being the United Nations, condemning the construction of the Lombok circuit and urging Dorna to do something about their participation in this. And this seems to be because the Indonesian government and the contractors involved in building this circuit, and it's not just going to be a circuit, is it? It's the circuit is going to be a part of it, and almost a street circuit around the track, but it's a whole purpose-built entertainment area. There's going to be hotels, restaurants, a holiday resort, water parks. The full shebang is going on in here. It will be similar, I imagine, to Sochi in Russia, and that circuit. But to make way for this circuit, people are being forcibly displaced from their homes. They're not being paid anything. They're just being told, you fucking leave now. We're bulldozing the lot. Take what you can. You've got 4 minutes. Go. I don't know if that was me making up a quote there. We don't know there being even 4 minutes. But we do know all of this is going on. And I was pretty upset to find out this is happening, obviously, because we all know I'm a bit of a softie when it comes to these things. We also all know I don't really trust governments, Steve. I'm not really a government kind of guy.
Does anyone?
Well, I don't know. I sort of think most of us do, annoyingly. I'm getting pretty on board with the whole anarchism idea. Maybe governments just aren't worth it. That's kind of what I'm thinking.
I like a bit of anarchy.
Exactly. So let's all just become anarchists. Maybe we should change the name. It's the Anarchists MotoGP podcast. Now, maybe it's not. I feel like there's probably enough of you listening that are not on board with anarchism. But it's an interesting thing to look into. So maybe do some reading or not. That's up to you too. I'm not not here to tell you how to live your lives. I'm here to talk about MotoGP. But Dorna have refused to comment, haven't they, on this? I know the race reached out to them for comment and they've ignored it. And on the MotoGP website, there's nothing. But it's being reported everywhere else.
Yeah, literally all over the world. This is being sort of made public now. I think Dorna have got to react. You know, it's an atrocity. You don't displace people from their homes without help.
Quite well. I mean, if it's up to me, you don't displace people from their fucking homes at all. If they don't want to sell you their home, you're tough shit. You can't have it. But
it's being done. You know, if you approach people, you approach a street of people and say, right, we're going to do this. We'd like to buy your property. We will offer you this, and you've got to make it tantalising for them to take the offer.
And when these things happen, you normally get 2 or 3 times what your property is worth. If this was to happen in the UK, you'd get a big sum more than your property is worth.
People will make it worth your while. But just to kick people out, that's a fucking dick move.
And it's not like we haven't seen it before.
No.
We saw this in the Beijing Olympics. We've seen this very recently. There was talk of a new racetrack being built in Brazil, and that was going to be a very similar thing, and they were going to be cutting down swathes of the Amazon for it as well. So it's not like Indonesia are the first country to be doing this, but I sort of feel like I don't know. And actually, now I think about it, I'm wrong. I was going to say I sort of feel like MotoGP has quite a clean image to the world, but of course it doesn't, does it? We have races in Qatar. They're talking to Saudi Arabia for a race. So obviously there are human rights issues going on across the board here. You can probably thank Adriano in the Facebook group here for opening my eyes to all of this, because he very kindly sent me the links before, and now I haven't been able to do anything but read about human rights abuses going on around the world. So thanks for that.
There's a lot of them. I feel like if Lombok, I don't know much about that area, but to me, if you're going to build this kind of thing, this is obviously a massive, massive complex that's going to be built. It's going to be a big, big area. Pick somewhere that is disused. There's always areas of cities that needs regeneration. Pick a spot and make it so. Find a place which needs dozing, which is disused. It's still close to the cities. You could put roads in, for Christ's sake. You give places access, and let's regenerate that area. Let's not move people away. I could name you hundreds of sites like around the UK that we could go to if you wanted to do this style of thing, that would take to this method beautifully. You could regenerate an entire region of a city and offer people jobs, employment, housing, all sorts.
You could, but to be fair, the whole, and this isn't to be fair as a defence for anyone at all, but the area we're talking about isn't just the racetrack, is it? It's the entire resort. So it's a massive, massive area. And
it is huge.
It's not just like building a racetrack on an old industrial estate. It's from the ground up. The whole thing is changing.
Oh, yeah. I refuse to believe there isn't areas that need it. Even if you took these people away and said, right, look, we'll develop this area around here and we will relocate you still on site. You'll get your property back, but you have to pay a percentage back. Give them incentive. You're going to get a brand new property, but you have to pay. It would have to be a fraction.
Yeah.
But you get something back in return to be part of this development. Make it worth everyone's while, and offer them employment there. If they haven't got jobs, offer them employment.
Yeah, that's sort of the point, isn't it? Like you kind of got to be helping people out here, especially somewhere like Indonesia, where we know poverty is such a huge problem anyway.
With the world we live in at the minute, we're moving forward. There's more and more of us getting in this world. Backs have to be scratched. You can't just chuck someone out for the benefit of others.
Exactly. But sadly, it is something that's happening all of the time. And I don't know. I want to talk about it because these are the kind of things I like to talk about, Steve. You know that. But I also think that as the MotoGP podcast that we kind of have a responsibility to just let everyone know that this is going on. And am Absolutely. I going to refuse to watch the Indonesia race because of this? Honestly, while I'd like to say yes because I'm a moral crusader, no, I'm probably not going to refuse to watch it. I'm still going to watch the race. I'm probably still going to enjoy the race. And to be honest, I might forget this is happening. But that's a problem with us as human beings and as society as a whole, is we are very quick to forget these issues. And I'm fully complicit in this. I understand this. This is a problem with me as much as it is with everyone else. But I also don't have the power to stop this. Just by me not watching it, if everyone could get together and not watch it, that would be a fucking result. We could all do it together. But by me not watching it, it's going to make very little difference in the long run. We're relying on the big powers here. The governments, for example, clearly not working in this scenario. The organisations, Dorna, I kind of expect more from Dorna on this, but why would I expect more from Dorna on that? They're just another money-making monster, aren't they?
But we as a collective group of MotoGP fans, we could make a difference. Let's say it comes to the Friday and no one watches. It's no different to a protest. It'll just be a silent protest. Yeah. Everyone turns around and says, right, we're boycotting this weekend because of this human rights infringement in our eyes. And there'll still be some people watch it. But, the ones that would side with you, have you back. Everyone turns around and says, right, we're not watching just because of this.
But how many millions of eyes would you need to do it, man? Like, you'd need so many people just to be like, no, we're not going to watch it then, for it to even make a dent. Even if the entire listenership of this podcast, and I'm not even suggesting this, I wouldn't ask any of you to do this, But even if everyone got on board and everyone was like, no, we're not going to watch it, the TV ratings wouldn't even notice, wouldn't make a difference at all. So I don't know. It's kind of the thing that unless we all just get together and email Dorna and just be like, what the fuck, guys? It's going to go ahead. It's going to happen, and the world's going to forget about it, and we'll all watch the race. And we'll all watch the race in the back of our minds, knowing this is going on, but we'll all be a bit more excited about the fact that, you know, there's a last lap kind of battle for the win.
We will all watch it, but that, like you say, we're human beings. That's what we do.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move on, Steve, shall we?
Let's go on to a brighter subject.
Yeah, exactly. We'll move on to, and I don't want to make light of this, but of all of the people losing their homes, but we are going to move on, because otherwise I'll just end up a crying mess in the corner, and I've not got enough beer in front of me to be dealing with that today.
I ain't got enough tissues to give you.
So let's move on to the Dovi Aprilia test, shall we?
Let's do it.
MotoGP have been, MotoGP.com showed some pictures of Dovi in the Aprilia setup, and I mean, he's not in a properly liveried up set, is he? He's got his black leathers on. There's some streaks of red up there. He's got his Red Bull helmet on. I quite enjoyed the fact that the bike he was riding had his white and dark horse logo just on the front there in the middle of the wings, but it looked weird knowing that was Dovi. And knowing that wasn't a Ducati.
Yeah, it's a little strange. I was very excited to see this. I did see a lot of reports that there was a complete media lockdown around Jerez. Absolutely no one allowed in, completely behind closed doors. So when the pictures started coming out, I was like, ooh. And he seems to look good. And initial reports from him seem pretty damn good.
Well, what have you heard from him? Because the only thing I've seen that's quoted him at all is that GP1 article saying that
pinch of salt.
Yeah, quite exactly. That's how I'm all for people making a career out of any form of journalism, especially from anyone who has managed to make a career out of talking about motorbike racing. Because let's be fair, wouldn't that be great if we could all do that? But so for those who have done it, fair enough to them. But GP1 are not a source that I trust with anything that they put out, but they are the only people I've seen reporting a quote from Dovi on this at all.
Yeah, and that quote was, "It's an easy bike to ride."
Yeah, exactly, and that was it.
That's it. That is the one snippet. And how they got that, Christ only knows, because like you said, complete media lockdown.
Yeah, but it wouldn't take much, would it, to be fair? If you're a journalist, you're friends with someone in the Aprilia garage, and that person was talking to Dovi, I think you could get a quote easily enough. And we do also know that Formula E testing and stuff's going on there, so there is other stuff going on at Jerez as well.
There's bound to be stuff gets leaked out eventually. It's going to squirrel its way out. It always will.
Yeah.
Chinese whispers, we've all seen Ali G movie, what that's like.
I have to be honest, actually, I've not seen an Ali G movie.
Jesus, watch one. It's hilarious.
I really cannot stand the man, honestly. While I quite like Sacha Baron Cohen as he is, if you ever see an interview with him just as he is, I think he's pretty funny. But I just don't like his films. I don't really like any of it. I don't find any of it funny at all. It just cringes me out, really.
Ali G is about the only one I could watch. I tried watching Borat and I just couldn't stomach it.
Yeah, that's how I feel about all of it. I'm just like, nah, I don't want to do this.
I could only stand Ali G because I was sort of that was kind of in my youth on the telly at the time.
Okay.
So it's kind of a thing. And it's just little snippets in it that absolutely crack me up. Is what it is. The rest of his stuff, absolutely no way.
Yeah, I'm not feeling it really. Although part of me wants to see the second Borat film just because of that thing with the New York mayor.
Yeah.
Is he a mayor or a lawyer or?
I think it's a mayor, isn't it?
Oh, I
can't remember offhand. But anyway, I went to the cinema to watch the first one, and there was a certain scene in there, and people started getting up and walking out and throwing things at the screen.
Really?
Yeah.
God,
yeah.
What was it? What bit?
The stoning of the Jews, or the running of the Jews.
Yeah, I remember.
Down the street.
Did people really get up and throw things at the screen in the cinema?
Yeah, mate.
That's amazing. What cinema was this?
Norwich.
No, was it?
Yeah, in the Odeon. Riverside.
Yeah, that's so good.
Sit at the back. It's just like all these people started getting up. I was like, whoa, hang on. What's going on here?
Sleepy old Norwich has got a moral backbone all of a sudden.
Yeah, obviously, got on someone's back. Even I sat there. I was like, oh, it's a bit close to the border. But yes, these people, I think it was about 8 of them in total, just got up and like, you see popcorn, drinks. I was like, whoa, easy now.
That's amazing. And all the time, the film studio is just laughing because that person's been in there for more than 30 minutes, so they've already made their money.
Exactly. You've paid for your ticket, out you go.
Yeah, exactly. But back to Dovi anyway. We know that apparently he said it's an easy bike to ride, and all we really know from the first day is that he was just doing a load of short runs. Just to set up the ergonomics on the bike. We know nothing from the second day.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. I did see a little tweet going around earlier on that his test might get cut short because the weather's forecast to change.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so that's from someone who's out there. Just saying that, the forecast is like 8% rain, heavy rain, so it could become a 2-day test, not 3.
Okay, so I was reading some reports as well that this might lead to a test in Mugello.
Yes, there could be a second test.
So, I don't know when that's due to be.
I did hear the same thing, but I don't think there's been any kind of confirmation yet of when it would be.
Okay, so I wonder whether the weather would make it more likely that he'd be doing a second test somewhere else.
I think so. I think it could be fairly soon as well.
Yeah, you'd imagine so.
There are a couple of other little rumours flying around that the deal has already done.
Yeah, so you put me onto this one, Steve, from Now Moto News, who I'd never heard of before, and I couldn't find anything except their Facebook page. I couldn't find a website. I couldn't find anything else linked to them. If any of you guys listening know anything about these guys, please do let us know. We'll give contact details at the end of the show, or you can come join our Facebook group and you can let us know in there. But yeah, all I could find for these guys was their Facebook group, and this was just a post that they put in there. There was no links, no evidence, no nothing, but it was a report that Savadori will be replaced at Portimao due to injury. It also didn't say who was going to replace him. I mean,
no.
If Savadori's out at this point, I think we all know who the smart money's on.
Exactly.
We know Smith on the bike.
Yeah. We do know Savadori is carrying an injury.
Yeah.
So bits of it pieced together makes sense. Dovi's tested, Savadori's injured. We know Aprilia are dicks when it comes to contracts.
Mm-hmm.
Would slot in with their previous sackings of people quite nicely.
Yeah, exactly. They've got a body of work here, haven't they?
Yeah, they are very focused on going forward and what is best for Aprilia, not for the people that they already have under their employment.
It's funny though, isn't it? Because if I was the Aprilia boss now, this is one of the first times I'd be all behind it. I'd be like, yes, this is the right move. Because I do think this is the right move. If this does happen, if they have to say, I'm sorry, Savadori, you're out, we're bringing Dovi in, I think it's the right move. And I think it's one of the first times they've made the right move.
Yeah, I completely agree. Savadori injured, has come through Superbike Championship, has only had a few races, and you've got the opportunity to get a multi-time runner-up in MotoGP with a vast wealth of experience on your bike.
On multiple manufacturers, he's won for across. I don't know, when did he take his first win? More than a decade he's had wins for.
Yeah, and you've got the opportunity to get this guy on a seat. Take it.
Yeah,
I think this is probably the one time I would agree with them. And, I've made my feelings about what Aprilia have done to people in the past very clear.
Yeah, and it's a weird one, isn't it? Because I feel like, although I sort of agree with their move, if this was to happen, I'd sort of be like, maybe this is the right move. The other part of me is like, but you've been such dickheads pulling this move off over and over again, and it always being a bad decision. And maybe the right decision for performance purposes, but just a terrible, HR decision, like a personnel decision, that I can't really get behind this one fully as a good idea, because I still feel like it's just Aprilia being Aprilia.
Yeah. They reminded me, not off topic, but they really reminded me of Enzo the other day.
Aprilia reminded you of your 4-year-old son. Is he even 4?
Yeah, he's 4 in September.
Oh, I was close. 3.5-year-old son.
Yeah, who basically was like stood in front of the telly, and kids' TV now is like all adverts for very expensive stuff.
I think it's always been that way, man. I just don't think you realise it when you're a kid.
So my bank balance is definitely noticing it. But anyway, every advert comes on was like, I like that one, Daddy. I like that one, Daddy. I like that one, Daddy. Daddy, I like that. Daddy,
Sounds
I
like
that.
he's been going through my email inbox again.
Basically, yeah, just go like it, like it, like it, like it, click the link. But it just, for some reason, it popped in there, and I was like, I bet that's what Aprilia do. They've got like a Tinder of MotoGP riders, and they're just like swiping right or left or whichever fucking way you go.
Yeah,
like,
this is the thing. I try to make this Tinder joke a lot, but I don't actually know which way swipes which, Steve.
I've never been on it. There's some lads at work who I see on it, and they're just like, fingers are like violin players' elbows.
And that's actually what their Tinder profile says, isn't it?
Basically. Oh, yeah, I realised where that went.
Oh, God, Steve.
You be careful of that laugh.
Yeah, don't offend anyone with that.
You don't.
Yes, so I don't know where we are now. Savadori.
Oh, shit.
Yes, what we know is very little, essentially, on this, isn't it? And I guess we've just got to wait for it to come out. I'm pretty sure we're not going to see Dovi rocking up at Portimao. Oh, my God, imagine if we did. Imagine if Dovi and Marc Marquez just walk into Portimao together.
That would be like the Top Gun scene, wouldn't it? Where they're walking across the aircraft carrier.
Yeah.
Glasses on, music playing. Everyone else has just gone, oh, for fuck's sake.
Yeah.
Just got shot of you two. Oh, dear.
Yeah, right. So, and yeah, we just don't know. We just don't know. But I think it's looking likely, isn't it, that we'll at least see Dovi pulling off a wild card every now and again if he's not taking up that full-time ride very soon.
Yeah, but I think he will. He'll have that suit.
Yeah, I think you're probably right.
Aprilia will be up to their old tricks, and they will just be like, yeah, we're having you are the weakest link, goodbye.
Yeah, quite.
Start off.
Exactly. Right then, that's sort of about it for the news. I had a couple of other things I wanted to talk about, but that pretty much covers what we've heard in the last week. There's not really been a huge amount going on, actually. I think everyone after the winter break did like 2 weekends on the bounce, and then we're a bit fried, and they're like, fuck, we need a week off. And so
holiday.
Exactly. The entire MotoGP grid has just gone and taken a nice week off now.
Can't blame them. I tried as well, but then work called. I'm like, where are you? Oh, shit.
Digs. I've been desperately trying to catch up on work, Steve, after 2 weekends of not doing anything because of MotoGP and Formula One. I'm now terribly far behind. I've got a lot of deadlines due in the next couple of days that I think I'm going to struggle to hit. So it's going to be a lot of late nights and a lot of coffee for me coming up.
I've just got so much work on at work at the minute. It's insane.
Yeah. Oh, that's a good point, Steve. I meant to ask you this before we started recording, but now we're recording. I'm just going to ask you anyway. How is the boat? You text me to tell me that you'd had problems with one of your boats. How is it? Did it get out the door okay?
No, it's still in the yard.
No.
There's some technical issues, but it's not bad. Not as bad as what we thought. Basically, a couple of pieces of like the decking wood have got stuck on a little bit wrong.
Okay.
And at a late stage in the build, it's a headache. But we'll get it out. We're going to fix it. It'll be fine. It will go out on time. Looking glorious. It is just when you find it and just go, oh, shit.
Yeah, just have that mad panic.
Yeah, because we're going to have a lot of stuff coming in late. We've had to make little changes to it. It's just going to be, there's a lot of stuff happening this week and not enough bodies to do it.
Okay.
So I might have a few late nights myself.
There we go then. So we'll just be texting each other at 4 a.m, like, oh my God, how are you? Like, I can barely see my phone.
Yeah. The coffee machine is definitely going to have to be stocked at work. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, that's it. Well, Steve, I tell you what could keep you amused during your time at work, and only once you've listened to this podcast in full, Steve, because I do expect you to do that, is you could maybe listen to the Hollywood and Burn podcast.
Mate, I tried that tonight. I got Brody to bed, and I was like, right, I'm going to go do the washing up and put this podcast on. And then I realised the time. I was like, shit, I've got to speak to Tim in a minute. So I got like the 30 seconds of intro or the start of it, and that was it. I'd turn it off.
Yeah, so obviously I text you about 15 minutes before. I'm like, I'll just make sure Steve's remembered, because there's been a couple of times in the last few weeks where one of us has forgotten what's going on, and we're like, fuck, I'm glad you text. I forgot it was Tuesday. And
We
then
had that bank holiday. I was off work on a Monday, and it just threw me. I went back to work on the Tuesday. I was like, that's fine. I'll speak to Tim tomorrow night. I'll make some notes later, try and do this, try and do that. And then went to leave work, and one of the lads at work went, do the podcast tonight. I was like, fuck are you on about? It's Monday. It's Tuesday.
Yeah, it's happened to me a few times, to be fair. I'll be going through to the bedroom or whatever, like in the evening, and I'm like taking my jumper off. I'm just going to jump in the shower. She's like, you're speaking to Steve in 10 minutes. I'm like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, it's not Tuesday. She's like, it's Tuesday. Shit! And then I have to run through and get dressed again in a hurry. But yes, that's just a normal thing that happens. I just don't know what day it is. And I have been very lucky in maybe the last, I would say since 2016. So, almost the last 5 years of my life, I've had jobs that mean, and a lifestyle that has meant I don't have to know what day it is. And that's been fucking wonderful. The amount of times where you could just ask me what day it is, and I'm like, I honestly couldn't tell you. Like, it doesn't matter.
I love a job like that.
It's pretty
Really
nice, man. But it just also means that I don't remember weeks in their normal pattern. So like the last 5 years of my life, I'm like, I don't really know what's happened. Like I've worked days, I've worked nights, I've worked weird jobs in weird parts of the world. Like I don't really know what's happened in the last 5 years. There's a lot of memories in there, but they all kind of just bubble up. And then I just freak out because I can't remember them all.
See, mate, my life is opposite. Mine is like a metronome. It's just alarm at 4:45 in the morning. Go to work, come home, play with the boys, put the boys to bed, play with the boys' toys.
Anyway, the Hollywood and Burn podcast. So I was put onto this by Callum in the Facebook group. He mentioned this one, and when he first said it, I was like, Burn, I assume that's Shaky Burn. Don't know who this Hollywood fella is, but I said to him, I'll get around to listening to it, because he told me there's a good Cal Crutchlow episode. So I was like, I'll have a listen to that, and we'll see what it's like. And then I finally got around to actually listen to it this week. And I have to say, the Cal Crutchlow episode was great. I think Cal came across really, really well. I think he always does, but I think it was a very good, enlightening show. But the thing I really took away from it was the Hollywood of the Hollywood and Burn podcast. It's fucking Paul Hollywood, Steve.
I have no idea who that is.
Oh, so it's the Paul Hollywood from the Great British Bake Off.
Oh, him?
Yeah. He apparently, as it turns out, is a massive motorcycle fan and a classic car racer, does some endurance racing, does loads of shit, is friends with Shaky Burn, and just decided to do this podcast. And I was listening to him, I'm like, I've literally never heard this man do anything except talk about cakes and pastries. So I'm very confused as to why he's talking to Cal Crutchlow.
Yeah.
But it was very good. And I've only listened to the Cal Crutchlow episode so far, but I suggest that everyone listen to that. And if the rest of the show is going to be as good, then it's going to be pretty great, I think. It seemed to be that it's not just motorcycle-related guests, though. There is guests from different fields, like baking, for example.
Fair dues. Why not? Yeah, I will give it a listen. I'll probably chuckle one episode on the background at work tomorrow. We'll get around to listening to it eventually. I normally have to slot these things in just where I can.
That's fair.
Yeah, I don't get that much time on my own, but I would like to give it a listen. I didn't realise it was the Bake Off dude.
Yeah, neither did I until I heard his voice, and I was like, what the fuck? I was like, this isn't what I expected at all. But it's actually a really good show, so I did enjoy it.
I will give it a listen. To be fair, I don't watch Bake Off either.
I don't watch Bake Off at all, mate. Even though it's a Channel 4 thing now with like Noel Fielding in it, the only Bake Off I ever watch is when it's on Gogglebox.
Oh, right, yeah. I don't watch that either.
Honestly, Gogglebox, mate, is my second favourite TV show. It's a cracker. When someone came up with the idea of a primetime TV show which was watching other people watch TV, like they must have been called a fucking lunatic. But it's one of the best TV shows I think I've ever seen. I really, really love it. It's my favourite TV show. The second favourite, I think, actually. Yeah, second favourite.
No, I don't watch that much telly. I really don't. We watch Hollyoaks.
Classy stuff, Steve.
Classy, mate. Top shelf stuff.
You want
Top
Charlie
shelf
Oaks, the young person's soap.
Yeah, I quite like it.
You'll be graduating to like Corrie soon.
Maybe. And that's about it. The rest of the stuff we're a bit random with. We just like chuck on whatever there, watch a movie. Yeah, we don't really have anything like we religiously watch.
Okay, whereas I do religiously watch Gogglebox. I religiously watch First Dates. Love First Dates. Favorite
I do
TV
like
show.
a bit of Fred.
Love it. Yes, Fred Cyrex, the one and only. But aside from those two shows, actually, I kind of just watch whatever appears on Netflix. I watched Seaspiracy the other day, Steve. That was a fucking depressing watch, and I've now gone full veggie. No
I
more
want to
fish for
see
me.
it. At the same time, I don't want to see it. I'm on that boat. I'm fully aware of what's going on.
Oh, I actually don't think you are fully aware of what was going on. I thought I was fully aware of what was going on, and then after I watched it, I was like, well, fuck me. That's worse than I thought.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. But you've kind of got to remember that it's also, it has an agenda. It's not just the show certainly has an agenda in why they're showing us certain things. But it sort of showed me enough to realise that maybe I don't need to eat fish. Maybe I shouldn't be eating fish. So here we are.
Yeah, see, we don't eat a lot of fish anyway, which is good. Yeah, I will probably get round to watching it, and I will probably shed a tear, especially if they start killing Free Willy. Yeah, I don't know. Makes me angry, that kind of thing. So I tend to shy away from it. Otherwise, I get really riled up.
Yeah, that's fair, mate. That's fair. Let's move it on then, Steve. I just had one last thing I want to talk about, and this was just a little quick thing. I was watching the 2003 British Formula One race the other day because the highlights appeared on YouTube, and I was like, "Why watch the highlights when I could just watch the entire race?" So I went and found the entire race because what else are you supposed to do with a Wednesday evening than watch an old Formula One race?
Mm-hmm.
So there I was, and there's a point in the race where a man just starts running down the circuit. And we've seen this before in racing. This happens occasionally. And often in sports, it's like a streaker or someone doing something ridiculous, which is quite fun. But this one was my personal favourite because he's carried a sign that you have to pause a few times to try and catch a good glimpse of. And it is 2003. And I thought HD and TV shows were good in 2003. As it turns out, they were shit. But he's holding a sign about how you should all read the Bible because the end is nigh kind of thing. And he's dressed in this ridiculous outfit. And it really got me thinking, Steve, that maybe we need a few more religious fanatics to run on the track in a Formula One race, in a MotoGP race. Because I feel like I've never seen that. I've never seen a streaker. I've never seen any of these ridiculous things. We've seen track invasions at the end of a race, but I've never seen any of the ridiculous things that happen that I've seen in Formula One races.
No, this is very true. I think, don't put a track invader on a track in front of Iannone. He'll just nut it.
Yeah, quite. Can you imagine?
Protester, fuck him.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm not saying I actually want to see this. Obviously, don't want to see this because it's very dangerous for all the people involved. But it's something, it occurred to me that I've seen it in Formula One multiple times. I've seen guys on the track, if it's just a quote-unquote accident, or I've seen guys on track like this fella that is running around with a political message as such. And we've seen it in Iron Man
2.
Is it 2? It is Iron Man 2. You're right. We saw it in Iron Man 2 at Monaco, but I've never seen it in MotoGP.
All right, right. Movie trivia. Who was the actor that took down Iron Man?
Mickey Rourke.
Whoa, he gets it.
Thank you very much, my friend.
Like it.
I really wasn't sure I was going to know the answer to that, and then
your face. Then I wish I had that film. You were like Mickey Rourke.
Yeah. I quite liked him, and I know he's had a weird history or something, hasn't he? But I can't really remember what. But I think Mickey Rourke is one of the few actors, when I look at them, I'm like, oh, maybe he is actually as hard as he looks in this film.
Yeah, I do like Mickey Rourke. He's really good in The Wrestler.
I think the only film I've seen him in is Iron Man 2.
Watch The Wrestler. It's very, very good.
Is he just as tatted and just hard man? Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what I like from him.
I quite like the role he played in The Expendables as well.
I forgot he was in The Expendables, yeah.
Yeah, just that little bit. I quite like him. I do like Mickey Rourke as an actor. So, but there we go.
Yeah, I'm quite the fan.
Let's get back on.
Let's do
MotoGP
that
racing.
indeed. But yes. So, Steve, one last thing in the news before we dive into our Portimao race preview. I would just like to thank everyone who responded to us last week after we asked for feedback on the show. It was all very positive, which
It was.
It's quite nice, actually. I appreciate that. And so thank you all very much for getting in touch and letting us know what you thought. Thank you to all the trolls who got in touch as well. I really appreciate that too. But generally, it was very good, guys, and everything you said has been very, very useful. So thank you all very, very much for that. Steve, let's take a quick break and then we'll dive into our race preview, shall we?
Let's go for it.
Good stuff. Bear with us, guys. We'll be back in just a moment. Thank you for bearing with us there, guys. I've just fetched myself a weird concoction of vermouth and iron brew. So if anyone can tell me what vermouth actually is, that would be fucking great, because I haven't got a clue, but it's my last bottle of anything that resembled spirits.
Mate, that looks rancid.
Yeah, that's the iron brew colour. It looks a bit like a strong ale that you've maybe already passed through you once. But it's actually not the most disgusting of drinks I've ever had. I quite like iron brew, and that seems to be the predominant flavour. But I don't actually know what vermouth is, so maybe that's a Google for me later.
Maybe it's a good thing you don't know.
Yeah, I think it's just like it tastes almost like a port type drink, so I assume it's like a fortified wine, but we won't worry about it. The bottle's all in Italian, so I can't actually tell you what it is.
It's fortified wine.
Okay, there we go. That's pretty much what I said. It's like port, that'll do.
Yeah. Vermouth is an aromatized fortified wine, flavoured with various botanicals and sometimes coloured.
Well, there we go, guys. Thank you for listening to another episode of Tim and Steve Talk Booze.
This does have a little bit of relevance to not racing, but a racing place. The modern versions of the beverage were first produced in the mid to late 18th century in Turin, Italy.
There we go. See, Italy. Happy days. Italy, we know big racers. 2 of the 6 MotoGP manufacturers are from Italy. We have 2 races there a year. If you can count Misano as Italy, which some people do, some people don't, but we're not going to get into the politics of that today. So relevant to that anyway, Steve. How did you enjoy your break? Was it nice?
Yeah. Had a quick pee, topped a drink. That was about it, really. Yeah.
Good stuff. So shall we crack on then with our Portimao race preview?
Let's go for it.
Good stuff. So this, guys, is going to be a lot like the Qatar race preview we did a few weeks ago. We'll just run through the track. Steve and I will just chat shit for a bit and then it'll be over. So we'll crack straight on. This race this weekend is at the Autodromo Internacional do Algarve, a.k.a. Portimao.
Portimao being a lot easier to pronounce.
And that's why we all stick with Portimao.
Yeah.
I know when...
Sorry, mate, go for it.
I was going to say, I know when Formula One went to Portimao last year for the first time, Autosport were quite funny because in all of their podcasts, they would not call it Portimao. They were calling it the Algarve circuit, closer to its official name. And then the closer and closer it got, in the end, they called it Portimao because their style guide said it cannot be called Portimao. And then by the end of it, their style guide had to change because everyone was just calling it Portimao.
It's Portimao. Everyone you speak to, it's Portimao.
Yeah.
For crying out loud. Yes, that's not its real name, and that's just a nickname given to it.
Well, that's the name of the closest town, isn't it?
Yeah. Portimao. It's Portimao.
Yeah, exactly. It's Portimao, and that's what we're going to say. And obviously, this is in Portugal, so another race in the Iberian Peninsula, which leaves us. I assume we're having all of the Spanish races this year, are we?
So far, yeah.
So there we go. So we're 5 races in the Iberian Peninsula. Like, wow, if you live in Spain or Portugal in any time that isn't COVID lockdown, like, and you're a MotoGP fan, what a result, man. What a result.
Absolute happy days. I mean, we get one in England, and you're lucky if you get a ticket.
Yeah, exactly. And that one covers the entire of the UK, doesn't it? Like it's just Silverstone. Or we get obviously Superbikes at Donington as well.
Yeah. But if you're just purely a MotoGP fan, the minute the tickets go on sale, you're banging that refresh button pretty damn quick.
Yeah, and that's true of most countries, to be fair. Imagine if you're a fan who lives in, like, Brazil, a MotoGP fan. What are your closest, Texas or Argentina? Like, fuck me. Like, we think we've got it a bit hard here, but, like, we're still in Europe. But no. Okay. There's a political nightmare. We're still close to Europe. So, like, it's still not far for us. Like, you and I could drive, theoretically, non-stop, and we could be in Portimao probably in a day and a half.
Yeah, if we were hop on the tunnel, easily we could get, if we one-lined it, we could be there in 24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. And that's true of most of the European rounds. We could be there pretty quickly.
I've always wanted to do the £100 car challenge to get to, like, say, Mugello. I think that would just be insane. That would just be an awesome thing to do.
That would be really great. And as you know, Steve, like I bought my current yellow monster for the Mongol Rally, which was supposed to take place last year and was cancelled. So I'm now just driving it around as my normal car. But to come next year, I should be, again, driving it to Mongolia. So if that works and if it survives and I manage to get it back, Steve, maybe the following year we should try and hit up some racetracks in it.
I think we should, yeah. I think we definitely should. That is a yellow beast. We would stick out. I think that has got to be the plan.
Yeah, quite. And I've fixed the windscreen wipers twice now, so that's good. So they should probably be okay.
If not, mate, one of us just can hang out and just push that thing over.
Yeah, well, I've always got one wiper that works. So it's always the passenger side one. Annoying, but at least you've got one.
You've just reminded me that I had a follow-on to my car trouble story from 2 podcasts ago that I was going to tell you last week.
Oh, go on, Steve. Now is the time before we get too deeply into our Portimao preview.
Right. So I previously said that I've been driving down a road going to Bedford, I think it was, with Neil in his shitty car, and the gear stick had come out.
Yeah.
Previous to this incident, we're a couple of young lads. We get hungry a lot. So we passed a Golden Arches. Right. We're having a drive-through. But as we approach the drive-through, Neil turns around and starts reversing in. I'm like, why are you reversing into the drive-through?
So he's reversing into a drive-through McDonald's.
Yeah.
That's actually, to be fair to him, if he managed to do that without mounting a single curb on the way in, I'm going to be pretty impressed with the lads driving, because they are tight turns and a lot of high curbs throughout a drive-in McDonald's.
Not a thing, mate. Not a scrub. Reason for this, his window didn't go down.
That's the best thing ever. So he got you to order everything. Oh, yeah, so he got you to order everything.
We pulled in backwards, and so I'm facing the wrong way looking at this dude in the window.
That's so good.
The bloke was just like, lads, you can't drive in here. Look, we didn't drive in, mate.
That's amazing. That's my favourite. Did he not have back windows?
Yeah, but that's not the point.
That's not, and this is probably in the day where you'd have to lean back and unwind them, right? There's no just button on your driver's side door.
This thing was full of surfboards and all sorts of shit.
Okay.
There was no way we could get it back.
That's a good. Did you get served your McDonald's?
Yeah.
And that's the important thing, Steve. As long as you got your Big Macs.
Oh, the best thing was the people looking at us in the car, technically behind us in the queue.
Yeah, it's a weird thing. They're behind you in the queue, but literally in front of you. But you're in front of them in the queue and literally in front of them. It's a weird one.
As we went past all the windows, you see these people like, what the fuck are these two doing?
Yeah, and I'm just impressed with the driving. Like I say, if he didn't mount a single curb on the way around...
He got that beast in there, and that was a long old tank.
He fucking knows what he's doing, mate. Is he the Stig? That's the question.
No, he's definitely not a Stig.
Okay.
But that's the end of my story.
Okay, so back to Portimao then. Portimao, FP1 takes place on Friday the 16th. This is MotoGP FP1. And it's at 5 to 10 local time. Local time is GMT plus 1. Go on the MotoGP website, guys, and just look at the schedules, and you can click local time or your time, and that'll tell you everything.
I'll give you an option for your region. It gives you all real time. So
not going to try and get it all right, because every time I try and get it right, even for my own time zone, I get it wrong. So I'm not going to put you all through that too. Come Saturday, Q1 takes place at 2:10 local time, with Q2 taking place at 2:55 local time. Both of these in the afternoon. Come Sunday, it's the race at 1 p.m. local time. Again, GMT +1. Work it out. You guys know what's going on.
All right. Yes. Just go in your region, pop it in. You'll find it. It's fairly
exactly.
generic.
The MotoGP website says it all anyway. And I do remember very much the I don't use Instagram anymore, but the VR46 Instagram account, not the Valentino Rossi one, the Team VR46 Instagram account, always used to share a really nice map that showed you the race start times for all of the races in your location, in your time zone. So maybe they still do that. That might be worth looking into. That's quite a nice resource, actually.
Having a quick look. Yeah, they did it for the last one.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, check them out on Instagram. They'll give you all of that. As far as the circuit goes, the Portimao circuit, it is a 2.85 mile circuit. For all those of you speaking metric, that's 4.6 kilometers. It's got 15 corners, 6 of them are left-handers, 9 of them are right-handers, so this is a clockwise circuit. It's an 18-meter wide circuit, Steve. The more I look at these circuits, and Qatar was similar, when you look at them, you're like, fuck, they are wide. Really?
Qatar was 12 meters wide, wasn't it? This has got an extra 6 on it.
Oh, was Qatar only 12?
Yeah, I'm sure it was 12.
Okay, so this is much wider then.
Let's have a quick gander. I'm sure it was.
You're doing that now, are you?
I'm going to go back to the original show notes. Qatar 1. Here we go. Qatari.
They won't be in Qatar 1 notes, mate. They'll be in the show before that.
I was going to say, yeah, I've just really got that wrong. Where are we? There we are, show notes.
You've got it. Happy days. So you're about to tell us how wide Qatar is. Was it 12 meters?
It is. I was right. 12 meters wide.
Look at that. So this is an extra 50% on that. An 18-meter wide circuit. That's really insane. Fucking wide. The room I'm sitting in is 3 meters wide, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'd be like, right, well, if you were racing down a front stretch, the size of this room, you could get 3 or 4 bikes next to each other easily.
It's about, doing a quick bit of maths from what this room is, that one's the same, it's about the width of my entire house and conservatory.
Wow, see, that's pretty massive. Yeah, you could get the entire grid just side by side in your house, I'm sure.
We pretty much could.
Your house is pretty long and thin, isn't it?
Yeah. You could pretty much get, I'm sure this room's... my house is, off the top of my head, 17 point something meters wide.
Oh, there we go. I think everyone listening actually really missed what I got to experience there, Steve, which was the look of concentration on your face as you really tried to do the maths there, because it was something quite impressive. I really thought you were going to break the Enigma code or something. Just top of your head, done. Physics, solved it. All of it. All of it?
Got
it. Solved it all.
Equal. I can't speak now. I've had a stroke.
Yeah, it was going to be an E equals MC squared, was it, thrown in there?
That was going to be something, bit Einstein. What I was actually doing was try to count quickly the meter wide tiles on my conservatory floor, which now go through my kitchen as well.
Oh, that's pretty handy.
Yeah, and then remember how wide my living room is.
Yeah, well, just guess at that point, Steve. No one knows. I wouldn't even know. You could tell me it was 2 meters. You could tell me it was 12 meters. I'd believe you either way, and I've been in there, so...
Yeah. I think
right. Anyway, so Qatar, not Qatar, for fuck's sake, here we go. Portimao, a wide track, 18 meters wide. I don't know. It's a hard one to even visualize 18 meters in it. All I can say, guys, is next time you're walking down the road, just take 18 really long steps, and that's pretty much 18 meters, unless you're freakishly tall or freakishly short. The longest straight is 969 meters, very close to a kilometer there. So a decent straight. We'll see some Ducati grunt. We saw Jack Miller have a really good result here last year. So I think we can expect at least one of the Ducatis to be having a good result. Now, the general circuit stats, as we were planning to go through each year, are going to be pretty boring on this one. The circuit first appeared on the calendar last year.
Oh.
And the most wins of the circuit go to Miguel Oliveira with
one. That's brilliant. I tried looking up some interesting stats, and it was just like so limited. We've only been there once. I was like, well, we already know what it is.
Yeah, that's exactly it, isn't it? You're like, well, there's not really a lot to talk about here. The outright lap record is a 138.892, goes to Miguel Oliveira. The race lap record is a 139.855, goes to Miguel Oliveira. And the pole lap record, you might recognise this, Steve, is a 138.892. Can you guess who it goes to?
Dovi.
Miguel Oliveira.
I know. I really wanted us to like be able to. We're going somewhere that's like steeped in history, and get like fanfares and all that shit. But it's so limited because we've only been there once. And like we were saying before we started recording, I always think we think of racetracks, and I think of somewhere steeped in history and glory, and you know, there's been epic races built up over many years, and it's got like pre-World War One legacy to it, and then we find out this is built in 2008.
Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? Because like we were saying, like I thought, and when we went there last year in both Formula One and MotoGP, it felt like one of those old school classic European tracks. It felt like Assen. It felt like Imola. It felt like one of those, oh yeah, this is good. I'm feeling this. Look how it hits the undulations of the world around it. There's uphill, there's downhill, there's sweeping corners. And it looks stunning. But then I guess when you dive into it, you look at how wide the track is. That's a very new thing to have a really wide track. But yeah, 2008 surprised me. It's only like a 13-year-old circuit. Like, it's not been there long at all.
No, they're still dusting the first coat of like paint off the tarmac.
Yeah, exactly. If a circuit's never had to be re-tarmacked, it's a new circuit. Although I think Portimao was re-tarmacked actually for last year.
I think it was, yeah. I think they did re-tarmac it. But you know,
stupid analogy.
Yeah, but there's that kind of thing, you know. It's had 5 surfaces, a reshuffle of the track. You know, they've had to change this and change that because, I don't know.
Exactly. It can't be a 38-kilometre track through the woods anymore, so we're going to have to shrink it down.
Yeah, you know, we've got to be conservative here. We've got to bring it down to 29.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, it's so new, it's fresh. It's a baby track. It's in its infancy.
Yeah, quite. I guess it's a younger track than Donington, isn't it? Way younger than something like Silverstone that you and I know. It's one of the younger tracks in Europe, certainly, but it has that feel of a classic, doesn't it?
It does.
And the undulations on it, man.
Like we said, you think of somewhere steeped in history, and it's such a young track. We're living through what is going to become the history, which is quite nice. You know, someone's going to be sitting doing whatever version of a podcast is done in 70 years' time when we're long gone, and they're going to think, oh, you know, they're going to talk about this as not the glory days, but the first stages of racing here. So we're quite lucky. I think we're quite lucky to see like what's going to become a future classic.
Yes, certainly. And it has that feel to it, doesn't it? Because of the undulations. It's not a flat, boring track. It's not somewhere like Qatar, which is quite I mean, Qatar's a fine race, but it's quite a boring circuit. It's very flat, bowling ball flat. And this has just got that feel that you're like, this is a circuit that could really stand the test of time. And it's visually stunning. And I do think I went back and I watched both the MotoGP and the Formula One race from last year. Dorna need to pay attention to what Liberty Media of Formula One were doing with their camera setups.
You said this last year as well.
The camera setup in Formula One was so much better. And maybe that only works because it's cars as opposed to bikes. So you can put the cameras in different places, get the best angles. I don't know. I'm not a director. But the Formula One camera angles just made the circuit look even better than it is. And if any of you haven't yet watched the Formula One race from there last year, as far as I remember, to be honest, it wasn't a race that was a stunner, but just visually is amazing. And it's definitely worth just watching it to see the track from different angles, which is something I've realised. I sort of always assumed, Steve, that when you watch racing at circuits, they have, this is the way you put your cameras, this is how you film it. But that's not the case, as I learnt last year, because different series will film from different locations.
Yeah, I think they go for whatever gives them the best for their class, if you will. But again, like you said, I was thinking about the camera angles from last year, And like we saw, I can't remember if it's turn 10, the massive dip where the guy just will pop in air. We saw Aaron Canet slide over the top of it where he had his crash.
Where was that? I always remember the front straight for being just that up onto the straight, into the camera shot, and then down again and out of it.
Yeah.
But yes, I remember exactly what you mean. That was the Aaron Canet crash.
That one, but I was thinking, like, if you could get, you see it in Formula One where the helicopter follows the cars from the side, or from the side and the front, so it's sort of like at the point of one of the front wheels. If you could get a camera to follow that, but follow with it, so you've got to appreciate the undulation and how steep that hill is.
Yeah. Oh, that would be so good. I see what you mean.
So if you could come side on, so instead of, we always look at the bikes coming over the crest of the hill, so you're on the rider's right-hand side.
Yeah.
But I would flip that to come in on the left-hand side, be at the same kind of angle, but you would come up the crest with them and down, and then follow that curve round to the left.
A bit like we get a Saxon ring with the waterfall.
Yeah, exactly that. But you could keep that, you get to appreciate the elevation. So you come up, you follow it down, and then that camera would pan round to the left, or I think it's left corner after that, and then you would see the bikes disappear, and then the next camera would pick it up on the next right-hander and do the same thing.
Yeah, preferably without a ridiculous advert just there in the gravel trap.
Yeah, fuck the adverts, leave those out. Let's appreciate the racing. But if I was directing it, that's sort of how I'd have it, so you could appreciate the undulations, because the MotoGP camera coming over that hill is very static.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And I think maybe in the future we'll get the idea, like, because it sort of surprised me we don't already do this, is just scrap the helicopter. Why don't we just have a shitload of drones flying around? Like, you could, and I sort of do understand that if the wind blows, a drone can go down. If a drone goes down on the track, well, that's not good news for anyone involved. But it's not going to be long until drones are as reliable, if not more reliable, than the helicopter. And you could have hundreds of them flying around at the same time, maybe even controlled by algorithms. Every rider could have their own drone just following them all the time. It would make some really stunning footage. And it would make, for exactly what you're saying here, it would really accentuate the elevation rises and drops of every circuit, because you could have a drone that would, say, fly a meter above the track. But it would then, as the track drops, the drone's going to drop, and it could follow really nicely. As long as it's not getting in the rider or driver's eye line, great. It would be really good. Yeah,
if you did it with algorithms, like you say, you could have a GPS pinpointer on that drone, which kept it a certain distance, and it only went within a certain prefixed area. Yeah, and then the rider's next drone could pick that up in the next area. So they'd always have a camera on them.
Yeah.
Maybe we should... Let's delete this bit out of the show.
Steve, neither you and I can write an algorithm that's good enough for these drones. If someone wants to go ahead and do it, at least this show is out there in the world to know it was our idea first, and then we can sue them for intellectual property.
Yeah, I'm thinking, maybe we're onto something here. Because let's say, for instance, Greta's been in touch, and she wants Dorna to offset their carbon footprint a bit. Ditch the helicopter, which is chugging up a load of particle fuel, and then you've got all these lovely eco-friendly electric solar-powered drones.
Quite, you could just charge them off the Moto E battery banks.
Ooh, ideas.
There we go.
Saving the world and directing the cameras. Look at that.
There we go. This, Steve, is why you and I should be running Dorna.
We should, or at least be in there with a big suit on, getting paid big bucks.
Yeah, exactly.
But we'd still do the podcast because we love you all.
And that's sort of the point, isn't it? Because the podcast is my excuse to swear about things and not get told off for it.
Oh, I get told off quite a bit for swearing. It's not good.
But at work or at home or just in general?
Just in general.
Just literally everywhere I go.
Pretty much. I normally walk in a room, fuck it. And Sarah goes, kids! I'm like, oh, shit.
It's because you're constantly wearing a t-shirt that's just like, people are cunts written on it. That's why, Steve. You've already got swear words on your t-shirts.
Pretty much.
I actually had a... I'm keeping this tangent going. I had a friend in high school. I say I had a friend. I'm still friends with him now. His mum used to wear a Murder Dolls t-shirt, I think. No, it was a Murder Dolls hoodie. And I think it said something on the back like, everyone's a cunt.
Nice.
It was something like that. And me and this guy had gone to see the Murder Dolls in Norwich. No, we hadn't. We'd gone to see Wednesday 13 in Norwich. Joey Jordison had left Motodolls morphs into Wednesday 13. We went to see Wednesday 13, and his mum picked us up wearing a Motodolls t-shirt. So, I thought that was cool as fuck, because obviously my friend's mum is wearing not the band I've just seen, but the previous iteration of the band I've just seen's t-shirt. Obviously my friend thought this was terribly embarrassing because his mum was trying to be cool. But on the way home, we got pulled for speeding. And she got asked to step out of the car. And as she stepped out of the car, the police were like, "Whoa, what is your jumper saying?" And she's like, everyone's a cunt. She's like, and they got fucking really arsey about it. They were like, "You need to take that off." She's like, "I'm not stripping out here. It's cold. And I've got 2 teenagers in the car. And I'm not wearing anything under this. You can't make me take my jumper off." And the police were it was quite a fun little back and forth to watch, really. And she did win, which was impressive.
Well, it's a matter of opinion, isn't it? What causes offence? Like I've got my T-shirt that just basically says "fuck cancer" on the front. But there's a certain supermarket in town that do not like that.
Really? You've been told off for wearing it?
Yeah, for us to remove it.
No.
Yeah.
It would be really good if you took it off and just had "fuck cancer" written in like Sharpie on your chest. You're like, all right.
I should do that. I did take it off, and then I got told to cover up. So I just went and helped myself to a T-shirt from the clothing aisle.
Nice. That's the way to do it. I assume you weren't shopping in Waitrose at the time.
No.
Yeah, we all know what supermarket that is then.
No, they don't like us in Waitrose.
No, I didn't get ID'd actually because I had my arms out with my tattoos on show. But Cherie got ID'd in Waitrose last year, and when I gave them my ID, and they're like, "Oh yeah, 28, fair enough," or 29, whatever it was. And then they looked at Cherie, and she was like, "I haven't got my ID." And Cherie's 6 months older than I am, also with tattoos on show. And they were like, "Oh, we can't serve you then." I was like, "Right, well, this is weird." Cherie's like, "I'm 29 years old." The woman just went, "Well, you are very pretty." She was like, "You don't have to be fucking under 18 to be pretty." I was like, "Oh, God."
Fired her up now, love.
Yeah.
Look what you've done.
Quite.
Let's kill back in a way. You deal with this shit, love. I'm off.
Yeah, exactly. I was like, "I'll come pick up the beer later." And then we realised it was actually cheaper to go to Sainsbury's anyway. So that's where we went.
Fair dues.
Anyway, Steve, race distance for Portimao. The MotoGP are going to cover 25 laps of Portimao. That's 71.3 miles or 114.8 kilometres. Moto 2 will cover 23 laps, being 65.6 miles or 106.6 kilometres. And Moto 3 are covering 21 laps, 59.9 miles and 96.4 kilometres. It's quite a short circuit, actually, I realised, if Moto 3 are covering 21 laps.
It is quite a short run. Average, I think it sort of comes in middle for length. It's not long, it's not short-ish.
Well, I think it's the lower end, isn't it? Because what is the... Sachsenring hits the absolute minimum, and I think that's 2.3 miles.
Yeah, that is the shortest one. Silverstone's the longest. So I think this is
Silverstone, 4 point something miles.
3 points. I still think it's 3 miles.
Is it?
I don't think it's quite 4. I'll find out. Talk among yourselves.
Okay, when we say talk amongst yourselves, you mean Tim talk and fill the time while Steve does the Googling.
Yeah, basically, it would help if I put Silverstone circuit length, distance.
Yeah, that's good, because otherwise you're just going to get the Silverstone website, really, and that's probably not going to be much use to you at this point.
Oh, I haven't got the conversion, but it is... lost it. Shit.
Oh, it was so close, Steve. I'm so impressed. This is some real on-the-fly research going on here.
On the cusp. It is 5.891 kilometres.
5.819k in miles. Let's just Google that quickly then. We'll let my computer do its job. 3.6 miles.
Right. I'm sure it's longer than that. Oh, well. I thought it was like 3.9, but 3.6 sounds about right.
Yeah, we'll go with 3.6. That's close enough. So it's actually shorter than I thought it was. I thought it was like 4.3. But that is certainly... Is it the longest, or at least one of the longest?
It is. I'm pretty sure it's the longest circuit on the track.
Okay. So yeah, there is a variation there, isn't there? 3.6.
There's a lot. Yeah, there's a lot of variation between the tracks you go to. They have an average distance. You don't want too long.
No, well, the average race time is 45 minutes, isn't it? 45 minutes, and we'll get the most. We'll just lap until we've hit the 45-minute mark.
Basically.
Right, Steve. Predictions for the for the race in Portimao. What are you thinking? You've already got mine in front of you, so I will go first. I am thinking an Oliveira win. I'm thinking Miller second, and I'm thinking Vinales third. With, as we've discussed, Marc Marquez, I think will finish fifth.
I've got to go with Oliveira because I desperately want to see him win again. I want to see the Portuguese fans go freaking mental for him.
I kind of just want to see Adriano in the Facebook group just have a little weep because I think he might, and I just kind of want to see that. So I'm gonna really root for it. I moved Oliveira into my fantasy squad. I'm more committed to Oliveira for this race than I was for Miller in the previous race.
I seriously want to see him do well here. I think the Portuguese fans deserve it. So I think Oliveira from Zarco from Frankie.
From Zarco from Frankie. Oh, so you've gone for almost the opposite of me. I thought that obviously Miller did very well in last year, as did Frankie. But I was like, I don't think Frankie's going to do it again. You've obviously think he will, and you don't think that Miller is going to do so. Instead, you think the Ducati that will be Zarco.
I think Zarco's going to come out as a real dark horse this year. I'm liking the way he's performing so far, and the same with Frankie. I think Frankie did well here, although it was at the end of the season last year, and he had time to build up. I just think, I don't know. I think he just could come on swan song from what he knows from last year. So I'm going to go with Frankie.
And of course, we'll probably both be wrong, and we'll be seeing weird, like
wrong.
Marquez win, Rossi second, followed by Petrucci in third, or something strange.
Dovi.
But yes, and you're thinking Marc Marquez is going to finish 8th place, right?
Yep.
It's going to be an exciting one, mate. I cannot wait to see him back on track.
I'm already looking forward to next Tuesday when we get to talk again. It's like, we were so wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Because I think we're going to be very wrong. But I don't know. I think this is the most likely outcome my brain is seeing. And the idea that we're both going for Oliveira, I think anyone that's betting against Oliveira at this point is probably making an error.
I'd love to be in Portugal in a proper, dedicated, well, just any bar, because I'm sure everyone will be watching this.
In a non-COVID world.
Yeah, if we could travel safe, I'd love to be out in Portugal and just watch what the Portuguese people are doing, how much they're getting behind them.
Yeah, quite. From what we understand, is speaking to a few Portuguese fans, is that people are really, really on board with MotoGP and really on board with Oliveira.
Yeah, I'd just like to be in there, appreciating and feeling that atmosphere.
Yeah.
That's my prediction.
There we are then. So, guys, I think, Steve, that actually brings us to the end of the show pretty much.
I think we're there, buddy. That's a very short one this week because there's no race to talk about. There's not.
It's actually not that short.
It's
still a bit shorter than the last few weeks, but it's still longer than certainly at early iterations of the show, which we tried to keep below an hour. But now it's just like, let's just chat and see what happens.
Let's just go for it. But no, that's good. I just can't wait for this weekend.
Yeah, I know. I'm with you, mate. I'm with you. So, guys, if you have anything you want to ask us, if you want to tell us our predictions suck, if you want to let us know you enjoy the show, or if you just want to troll us about how terrible the show is, you can do all of those things, and you can reach us on...
We are For the Love of MotoGP. You can find us on Instagram and Twitter. We have a Facebook page. We have a Facebook group. Come and join us. Get involved. Hit the like, hit the subscribe, join the conversations, come and have a chat. Or you can email us, drop us an email at fortheloveofmotogp@gmail.com.
Oh, he's still nailing it every time,
Flawless.
Mate. That's very, very good. So while you were saying that, I just got a text from a friend about Tinder, and I haven't actually read the whole text, but I got a bit intrigued for a moment, and I was like, fuck, I think I've missed Steve. Get the email right or wrong, and I don't know what to say. And then I heard you do it, and I was like, oh, that's okay. He nailed it. That's fine.
It's right there.
Good stuff, guys. So Steve's just listed through those things for us. If you have anything you want to say to us, you find us on all of those channels. If you want to join our fantasy league, you can do so by following the link I will put in the show notes, or if you don't want to follow links for some weird reason, you can go to the MotoGP.com. You can navigate through to the Game Hub, then to Fantasy League, and then use the code 79WJKYN7. You have to remember that. I'll also put that into the show notes for you. That's it then, Steve. Anything else you want to say? Any final thoughts on anything MotoGP related, Steve?
I can't think of anything. Not off the top of my head. I've just, stoked for this weekend.
Good stuff. I do have a final thought, and that is exactly what you pointed out to me in the break, Steve. And that is that if you're new to MotoGP, we actually have an introduction to MotoGP episode. And if you've made it this far into the show without knowing what the fuck we've been talking about, I'm very, very impressed. But you can go back, search for our introduction to MotoGP show, and that'll teach you everything you need to know. Plus, you'll get to hear me so drunk, I cannot even say the name of the show. So, almost worth it just for that. And eventually I will learn to do that in the introduction to the show, and you guys won't have to put up with that at the end. But until then, thank you all very, very much for listening, guys. Stay safe out there. Remember, fist bumps, elbow bumps. We're still living in the COVID world. As much as we're all starting to think we're opening up, it's still not great out there. So none of them handshakes, guys. Look after each other. Stay safe. And we will speak to you next week after Portimao, guys. Goodbye. Have a great one and enjoy the race weekend.
Take care, guys.
Speak to you all later. Bye-bye. Music is by Andrew Greenwood. Thanks for listening. Goodbye.